All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have made it into chapter 2. We are now looking at segment bisectors. So your goal for today is to bisect a segment and find the coordinates of the midpoint of the segment. These are two big things. This midpoint is really our first formula that we're going to take a look at in geometry. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Vocabulary. Like I said, guys, I'm going to go a little quickly through this. You may need to pause and copy down. But midpoint, the midpoint of a segment is the point on the segment that divides it into two congruent segments. I don't think there's anything in that definition that surprises you. I did want to say here midpoints, that a segment is the only thing that can have a midpoint because a segment has a beginning point and an end point. All right, so because it has a beginning and end, lines go on forever, rays go on in one direction, planes go on, so we only have segments. Segment bisector, it can be another segment, it can be a ray, a line, or a plane, and it's just the fact that it has to intersect our original segment at its midpoint. And then last, to bisect means to divide the segment into two congruent parts. Notice we're talking about the segment because, once again, I can't divide a line into two equal parts because it has infinite length. It's unmeasurable. So pause, get caught up. All right, so I need to find the midpoint of AB. So to do that, they want me to find what the measurement of AM, or they say M is the midpoint. They want me to find AM and MB, so this is finding segment length. So M is the midpoint of AB. So AM, if we think about what that means in terms of a midpoint, AM is half of AB. So we've got half of AB in there. So AM equals 1/2 times AB. Since AB is 26, that means 1/2 times 26. And doing a little mental math, we know that that equals 13. So since MB equals AM, these congruent marks on the segment tell us that they're equal. All right, so if we go back and look at that, the marks on the segment there, these two marks tell me that they are equal to each other. Okay, so that means they both equal 13. So our answer here is AM is 13 and MB is 13. They tell me here that P is the midpoint. We're going to continue finding segment lengths of RS. So they need me to find PS and RS. So I'm finding PS and then I'm finding RS. All right? So when we take a look at that, P is the midpoint of RS. So PS equals RP. So this PS is equal to RP, and RP equals 7. We know that RS, the whole segment, is twice RP. That's the idea. If I go from half to a whole, they're twice that. So RS is equal to 2 times RP, which is equal to 2 times 7. We're just doing some substitution here. So that is 14. So the small segment, the PS, the green, is another 7. They're equal to each other. And then RS is double that, so that equals 14. So, follow-up. How are examples 1 and 2 different? I want you guys to look back at those, look at the math we did, and this will be a check-in class problem. So you need to write something down, and that'll probably be our warm-up tomorrow. Checkpoint. Please pause and answer these questions. But I need to find DE, and then I need to find EF. This tells me that they are congruent with those marks there. So I know that this is congruent to this. And so if 18 is the whole segment, I'm going to take 18 divided by 2, and that equals 9. And then EF also equals 9. I need to find NO, and I need to find MO. I'm finding the other half. If this is 11, that means my other half is 11 because they are congruent. So NO is 11. NO is going to be these two 11s added together. So that's 22. All right, now we're going to do some algebra. We know that line L, this line here, is the segment bisector of AB. They want me to find the value of x. Since M is the midpoint, I can write an equation that AM is equal to MB. That's the equation we can write. We're going to substitute in values for AM. So AM is 5x. MB is 35. And then we're going to solve for x. So this is using our algebra. We divide by 5. We get an x value of 7. So yes, we will get to work with some algebra this year. Yay! All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a look at this midpoint formula. The coordinates of a midpoint. Now we have a lot of stuff going on here. What we have here is we have x1, and then we have x2. And what we're going to try and find are these. Is this midpoint? Find the coordinates of this midpoint in here. All right. And so that means the coordinates of the midpoint AB are the x coordinates. Are the averages. You guys need to fill that in. Are the average. I'll write that a little bit neater for you guys. Are the average of the x coordinates and the y coordinates of the endpoint. To find averages, ladies and gentlemen, you add and divide by 2. So there's our averaging formula. You add and divide by 2 because there's two endpoints. We're adding those two endpoints, those two x coordinates together, and dividing by 2. We're taking the two y coordinates, adding those together, and dividing by 2. So what that means in terms of symbols, the midpoint of the segment is equal to, and we see it up there, x1 plus x2. So the first x plus the second x divided by 2, comma, first y plus the second y divided by 2. That's all that those little numbers mean. Those subscripts just tell you the first y and the second y. All right, so let's take a look at our example using the midpoint formula. We need to find the coordinates of the midpoint of AB. Oops. We need to find the coordinates of that. Sorry guys, there's a little typo here. We'll get that taken care of so you're not confused. All right, so the coordinates of AB, A is 1, 2. We can see over 1, up 2. We can see that B, I thought I changed those. Oh, it's not changing for me, guys. Sorry. This should be an M. And this should be a B. The coordinates of B are 7, 4. So we take a look at that. We're going to take the two x coordinates and add those together. So we're going to take 1 plus 7. So we take 1 plus 7 and divide by 2. We're going to take the two y coordinates, 2 plus 4, and divide by 2. If you want to take that out, guys, this is 8 over 2 and 6 over 2. Do the addition first. So we get 4, 3. And if you look at where this point M is at, it is at 4, 3. All right, so you're taking x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So let's try the checkpoint here. I want you guys to pause it. So I want you to sketch PQ and then find the coordinates. So hit pause. Do this on your own. P is 2, 5. So here's our P. Q is 4, 3. And we need to find the midpoint of that. Now, if you look, guys, it looks rather off on there. So I'm trying to find where the midpoint would be. So I'm going to use my midpoint formula. I'm going to take x plus x, 2 plus 4, and divide by 2. I'm going to take y plus y and divide by 2. That's my midpoint formula there. I'm going to have an x coordinate and a y coordinate. This is just a big comma here. 2 plus 4 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. 5 plus 3 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. So we should have a midpoint of 3, 4. If we look, we go over 3, up 4, here's where our midpoint is at. Now my diagram didn't look like it intersected there, but if we are a little bit more careful with our drawing, if we use a straight edge, it should go right through that midpoint of 3, 4. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for today's lesson. Bring your notes to class tomorrow.